everybody. Welcome back to the show. You are Rogers Television Live on a new episode of Meet the Band. I'm your host, the BMD, and right to my left, we're proud to have a new guest, a local gentleman. We're going to find out about his band and what he's doing. Everybody say hello and meet Chad Valyear of the band Valyear. And
Yes, sir.
It sounds and spells like Valyear. So, Chad, welcome to the show. Initially, a little bit on your background, your history, and your culture.
Okay, so I started the band in 2014. I put it together myself. I had studio musicians play on the album. I got sick of bands, whenever the band would break up or a member would leave, having to change the name, fighting over who got what, who did what. The producer that I work with finally said, "Why don't you call it your last name?" And I said,
Nice.
Absolutely not. I hate it when bands do that. It's not my thing. I'm not that big of an ego trip. He goes, but how many more times are you going to lose your songs, to other members that feel entitled to maybe a line or two of a song and then you can't play it? So we went with that. I gradually went through a few lineup changes. And then for the last 5 years, 6 years, I've had this lineup complete. We got signed in 2 years ago with Wormhole Death Records, and we're doing our second album now as we speak. So
in the name, I kind of disagree. I like the last name. I think it's not a Van Halen overtone, but I see it as being direct, right to your fans and right to the industry. And you're the lead guy, you're the head guy, you're the former, you're the maker of the band. I think it should be you. And I understand in your bio, you're mainly the writer, or you get a little bit of influx from the band.
I was the main writer at the beginning. Right now, the incarnation of the band that's been together for the last 5-6 years, it's very much 25%. Like, we all bring our own thing to it now. And I'm very fortunate because the guys that I work with, they're all superbly talented, and none of them are one-trick ponies. Like, everybody in the band, they're all very proficient on different instruments. So we're not limited to what we do in the band. So it's not uncommon for Jeff, the guitar player, to come up with a really cool bass line, or Nick, the drummer, to come up with a cool guitar riff, or me to come up with a guitar riff, and Joe comes up with lyrics. At first I was writing all the lyrics, right? And what happens is now, because I find it easier to write from experience, so my lyrics very much reflect on what's going on with me. And Joe will always laugh when I hand him the new lyrics. He'll be like, "I know exactly what's going on with you." But Joe will take things, because Joe will hear it from a live perspective, whereas I'm just hearing what's going on, and I try to put it together. And then he'll give it. Sometimes he'll say, like, "Well, why don't you try it like this, or try this word here, or this line may work better," and that's how that works. And then with Jeff and Joe, because they both play guitar proficiently, they've got studios in their home, so they will trade off music back and forth. So Joe will send Jeff a song, Jeff will send it back with other parts on it, and they do this back and forth, and then they send me a finished product to write lyrics over, right? And then by the end of it,
how did this form of the band, how did everybody connect and get together to become the band they are now?
Okay, so I was in, like I said, I had different incarnations of the band. I wasn't living the greatest life back then. I was balls deep in addiction. I was just not living very spiritual in any kind of way. So I was just kind of like floating through, doing what I had to do to get it done. I remember playing a show at the Rock Pile in Toronto, and Joe, I've known Joe since I was 11 years old. And we used to run home to catch the new videos on Much Music, like of Motley Crue and stuff. And he taught me my first power chords. And I remember he came and seen us, and he's seen what a mess the band was, but he heard the songs and he knew the songs were good. And he came up to me right after the show and he goes, "You got to ditch that band," right? And I was like, and I did. Like, it wasn't long after that, because I had to change my lifestyle and the way I was living. And Jeff has kind of been in and out for a long time, but family things get in the way for him. Like, he's got a family and a job, and he does the things that he needs to do. So it was never personal, but things would get busy for him, and he would have to step down for a bit. And so when I finally decided to get my life together properly and really focus on the band and make that, you know, a very primary focus, and with a clear head and a clear mind, and clean my life up, you know, Joe signed on right away. Jeff came back, and then we were struggling. We went through a couple drummers, but we couldn't find a guy that was, you know, we don't play a modern type of metal. Like if you listen to our stuff, it's very, you know, you can lump us in with bands like Alice in Chains and Avenged Sevenfold and bands like that. So finding guys that want to kind of do that kind of stuff is hard, right? And yet along comes Nick, and I met him through a mutual friend. And Nick is young, like Nick is in his, you know, early 20s, and he, you know, plays like his favorite bands are like Rush and Slipknot and all these bands that you wouldn't think a 20-year-old kid would listen to, right?
You're listening to Meet the Band with me, the BMD. I'm coming to you with a music video showcase. Stay tuned. You're back on Meet the Band with the BMD. How did you get out of, we'll call it the dark side? Not in explicit detail, but tell the listeners how you finally that day woke up and said, that's enough. Instead of going down that path, I'm going down this path. Just get into a little bit how you pulled yourself up, because this industry is full of torture in that
100%.
life. And you could be reaching a listener, a fan right now that's in that trouble.
Yeah, well, I just had enough. Like, I had burned every bridge. I have children that want nothing to do with me because of the life I was living. Like, not because I was mean or abusive. It was just I was absent. Like, if I wasn't playing music or partying, I was not there. And so it was enough. My marriage was on the rocks. Everything about my life was garbage, and I was just tired, and I was going to die. It was just that simple. Like the partying, the kind of partying I was doing was not the same as a lot of people. And when you don't sleep for days and days and days at a time, your body can only take so much. Yeah, you just become a shell of yourself. And I got to be honest, like, and this kind of scares a lot of people when I talk about it, but it just got to a point where I got on my knees and I said, tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
well, it's good. It's good you're able to share that intimacy, because I know for a fact there's many artists out there that watch the show, listen to the show, that are at crossroads. So knowing there's some update and some faith on, let's call it, how to get out of the ditch, turn your life around, find that hunger again, is very important. Okay, enough about that. Your style of music, why did you pick this genre of music instead of, rock, pop, or country western?
Because it's what I do. It's one of those things I didn't really have a choice. Like, for me to get up there and kind of do punk, it would sound very silly. For me to get up and do this like growly, like when I listen to music, I listen to everything. Like, one of my favorite artists in the world is Hank Williams and Waylon Jennings, and then I'll listen to Slayer on the other end of things, and Meshuggah and everything in between. But it has to have some sort of harder feel, and if I don't feel it, that doesn't make it less than. It just means I don't feel it. Right. And if it's not resonating with me, I can't do it. So for me to try to pretend I know what a 20-year-old guy is thinking and try to do a music that fits in that style, it would be very dishonest.
Gotcha.
So for me, it's like I stick with my roots. And we do, like, it's funny because somebody asked my producer what we sound like, and he goes, they sound like everybody, but they don't sound like anybody in particular.
Interesting.
Right. And that was a very cool thing to say, because he's like, you do sound like certain bands, but you're modern. Like, you do sound like the 90s era or early 2000s of music. But like, what did one magazine call us? A new wave of classic rock.
Interesting.
It was like, this new thing they're coming up with, because a lot of bands are going back to that. Because if you think about it, that's where the feel is. Like, when you think about like the mid 2000s, like, I'm thinking like bands like, I love bands like Killswitch Engage and Shadows Fall, don't get me wrong, but trying to distinguish one band from another in those genres where it's all just like, it's like, well, which song is that? The one that goes, you want the one that goes, where there's a flow, where you remember that line, where you remember that chorus. If it all sounds like screaming, or it all just sounds like, in your face all the time, nothing defines it.
So is metal heavy metal or metal? I know there's a slight distinct there. We'll call it metal. Is metal genre, is that industry, is it in trouble, you feel?
No, I find, I don't know. I think music in general is in trouble, personally, because it's like, I feel with the way it's going, like, it's going to force us to be either really more creative, or it's going to force people to get lazy.
You're listening to Meet the Band with me, the BMD. I'm coming to you with a music video showcase. Stay tuned.
Incoming!
You're back on Meet the Band with the BMD. Now, you had mentioned in one of your articles, I don't want to say bio, it was an article I did some homework on, that you were bringing back what was missing in metal. Can you expand? I know you touched a little bit there, but can you expand on, in your mind, what has been missing?
To me, I find swagger. Like I find all of a sudden it was uncool to look cool. It was uncool to do, to put on the jewelry. It was uncool to, look really good. It was uncool to dress up. When I first got into music, I saw these guys like superheroes to me. I don't think that you should get up right after you got off work and let people pay money to watch you in your work clothes. Give somebody something for their money. Like I might not, be all done up in leathers, but I'm gonna go the distance. I'm gonna put on something that, maybe some nail polish, or put in my contact lenses when I'm on stage, or do something that's gonna make me look just a little bit different than the guy buying the drinks at the bar. Because to me,
Is that a taste a bit of Marilyn Manson throwback?
absolutely. And I'm not even like I was a big Manson fan in the day. Unfortunately, his lifestyle is something that I can't get really on board with. So it tends to taint the music for me sometimes, right? But as far as that goes, like, he brought the theatrics. Like I've seen him live 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with a show like that.
Yeah.
You can't argue with bands like Mudvayne or Slipknot, or people who want to bring it and give you your money's worth. If somebody's going to pay $20 or $50 or whatever to go, well, nowadays if you're going to see a major label band, you're looking at sometimes 200-300.
Yeah.
You better look better than a lumber jacket and a pair of jeans, as far as I'm concerned.
Listen, that music that you do, call it heavy metal, whatever whatever you want to fire
It's
in
all
there.
metal.
All metal. So how do you maintain your voice? Because that style of music has got a lot of, I don't want to say yelling and screaming, but let's say the octave levels and aggressiveness are really got to be hard on the throat knots. So how do you keep your voice in shape?
I have to take care of myself physically. Like I go to the gym every day. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I hit the gym. I'm always drinking tea. When I quit drinking and doing drugs, my voice got so much stronger. I'm very consistent. Like when I used to listen to live shows, like I recorded all my shows. I critiqued them. I listened to where I screwed up the time before, and I do better the next time. But I know that when I listen to them now, the last 2+ years that I've been living properly, my shows have all been very consistent, and my voice has been deadly. And I'm very proud of it because I work hard to maintain it. Like I eat right. I make sure it's lubricated, and I make sure that, I sleep well. Like I don't work my day job when I have a show to play, because I have to make sure that I've had enough rest, because I can't get up at 5 o'clock and then go be on stage for 12.
Yeah, gotcha.
Now
what about writing? What about writing? I know perhaps it's got some of your past history in your writing, because I know songwriters love to talk about their past, but do you ever write about the future?
I write about hope, and that's what I always write about, because that's all I have today. I had before, like I can only share the crappy experiences so many times, and my fear was, when I straightened my life out, that I wouldn't have anything to write about. Right. That was a big fear, because I knew darkness, I knew anger, I knew addiction, I knew all those things, but when I got clean, what was I going to write about? And it's, it's amazing what you find in just your day-to-day life nowadays, because now that I'm clean doesn't mean my problems are gone.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Now,
If anything, it's more pain.
Your music I find is edgy. How do you keep that edge up?
I just stay honest. That's what I do. I stay completely honest. It's not hard to be edgy when every day is a fight. Like I will be an addict for the rest of my life. whether I'm in active use or I'm not, I'm a drug addict, right? So that fight every day allows me to be edgy. It allows me to keep my fists up. It allows me to be ready for the next battle always, right?
Is the band, when they're in the studio, do they duplicate that when they're on stage? Like, are you a good live band?
We sound like our record, and that's what makes me happy. And if it was any less, we wouldn't be doing it. And when you see us live, and you will eventually see us live, you
Yeah.
know, it'll be, you know, I've had so many people come up and go, I didn't think you were going to be able to do that live. Especially some of the vocal parts, right?
Yeah.
They assume we're not going to be doing it. Now we do, you know, it's cool because live, like I sing everything on the records, on the albums, right? So, but live, you know, everybody sings, which is cool. So it's like some people will catch other parts so that I can catch a breath. You know what I mean? So Joe's a good singer. Jeff is a great singer. You know, Nick can sing too. And then it's funny because the common joke is somebody said, like, do you think you're, you know, the best singer of this, whatever? And I think it was Joe said he's not even the best singer in Valyear. Right?
Have you enjoyed your time here with the BMD?
I loved it. It was so like amazing.
Good. Listen, last question.
Yes, sir.
How can people connect with you? What's your social media IDs?
Valyear on everything. Valyear or Valyear Band, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it. Anything.
And
YouTube.
spell Valyear.
Valyear.
All right. Listen. Hey, had a great time. Going to catch up with you again. Wonderful interview.
Yes,
folks,
sir.
It's been a great time here with band leader Valyear. Chad Valyear has been in the house with us on our show, Meet the Band, on Rogers Television. Well, it's been great. Another episode will be coming up, and you know what we do. If you've been happy, tell a friend. Hey folks, the BMD here on my show, Meet the Band. If you or your group would like to be a guest on the show, email us at thebmdpodcast@gmail.com. See you then.